Hello everyone and welcome back to a new altered deck guide. This time we are talking about my favorite and most played archetype, the Kojo Foundry. I really love this deck and it got a lot of attention after my first Beyond the Gauge video. That's why I upgraded the list with Trial by Frost meta. First we have the milk that can boost our tokens and some are spawned only from the reserve, so they are an excellent target for Foundry. We also got the common Skadi, Haven Syringa, Fire Rabbit and rare Floral Tent from the Trial by Frost card set. I believe this deck is so much better now than it was in Beyond the Gauge and I hope you will enjoy this as much as I do. We start off with our hero Kojo and his companion Buddha that will spawn every other turn when you are the starting player. They will leave a 2/2 companion token that is an excellent target for milk. First off we have Foundry, Axiom Bastion, a bread and butter of this deck. It activates all reserve abilities from the first character you play this turn. Play it with Buddha to have a higher chance not to get 2-0'd. If you get it in your opening hand, always keep 1 and play directly in turn 1 or 2. It gets value over time and will be possible to crawl back into the game with this deck and its ability. Specifically when you let your token be created into the Arcolano milk. Our two most used cards with Foundry are the Armorer and the Order Spy. Both summon a token. The Foundry Armorer can even choose where to play the token, so you can target to play into the milk while you play the armor on the other side to make sure that it gets not fleeting. As mentioned, the cards are very good with the milk as you are double dipping on the buffs it gives, so the card and the token both gets 2 boosts and fleeting. Effectively, you are getting from playing Spy 7 stats for 2 mana and the armor you pay 1 more for 8 stats. Don't sleep on this combination of cards as they can put out a lot of stats together. We also need a little control package consisting of Skadi and a Haven Bouncer. Skadi is a good 2 cost from hand with a good ability to trigger with Foundry. Haven Bouncer is not very exciting with Foundry, but little value is sometimes still value. Then are only 2 characters that don't get value with our Foundry. Syringar is the best newcomer in Trial by Frost by far and will probably see a lot of play. He draws you a card when removed while fleeting and you can even trigger this by playing him into the milk. He gets then a 2 mana 5/3/3 that draws you a card afterwards. It's crazy. Fire Rabbit is also a very good milk target and also a very good 1-drop. You can give him fleeting to give away a boost to another character. This can even be given to Buddha. Note that you can give the boost to another character in the same expedition as the rabbit itself, making it a 1 mana 2/2/1. We run 1 Salvager as I only got 1 rare slot left. This 1 cost fits in nicely and can resupply with Foundry and again when played from the reserve. We do run 2 Floral Tents which can be switched to 2 more Salvagers if you like this card more. The Tiny Djinn. This guy can be put as mana quickly with Foundry. Not the best target, but still can be valuable to get into mana as quickly as possible, as you will have more mana to spend in the following turns. It has good synergy with Rabbit on turn 1, as the Rabbit gives it a boost, so it goes to reserve quickly. Lastly, our last character is this Trailblazer. This card is a placeholder for my uniques. If you don't get uniques, this card can be very good if you have a fleeting character or milk out. With milk this card can become a 2 mana 5/5 with fleeting, but a 2 mana 3/3 is also very solid. Note that if you're playing this from reserve, it gives yourself 1 boost. Helping Hand. This card is here to get a boost to a character and remove its fleeting, allowing you to play your character again in the next turn. This card can be very good as we run a lot of good cards from reserve. This card can also be played on a card that is played into milk. I try to target the armorer when possible as the flexibility of the token is very nice, but it also works very well with Spy. For our removal we run 2 spells, Intimidation and a Mana Eruption. I think this is a very standard set of removal. Intimidation can be used on own cards as well. Sometimes this is a very good way to get something back to your hand to play the next turn with Foundry again. I'm looking at those Armorers and Spies. Mana Eruption can remove any card from play as long as you pay a mana orb. Speaking of permanents, Lastly, we run 3 Arcalena Milk Rares and 2 Protective Floral Tents. Milk is really the other MVP in this deck, specifically with Buddha or the Armorer token. A free 4/4 when starting your turn is most of the time in the early stages a free lane win and a 2-1 or 2-0. It's also an enabler for Trailblazer or your Syringar. Floral Tent is sometimes much better than you think. I really love this card. It's a 2-mana resupply from hand. It can be played next to Milk to protect everything that gets boosted by Milk. And if you don't have Milk, we do have some cards that get a boost from Reserve or from your Rabbit. From Reserve it's just a 1-mana resupply and after you, and if you are not looking for cards or protection, you can use its support ability to anchor a Charioteer. If you don't like Floral Tent, this card can be switched to Haven Bravos Bastion, 2 more Axiom Salvager, or even 2 Icebound Peaks. All of these options are working really well with the deck. For uniques, you can go for several options, as Bravos is normally a little weak in card draw or resupply section, so looking for uniques with these abilities are normally a good idea. As Foundry is in the deck, having some very good characters with 1 or more good reserve abilities can also be very powerful at the right time. And lastly, a shout out for disruption uniques. Discarding permanents or just more sabotaging effects are also very good. Or even giving characters fleeting can help our game plan a lot. And lastly, maybe also removing fleeting is very good with Milk. For our strategy. On turn 1 and 2, you need to play Foundry. This gives you so much value over time. There are a lot of decks right now that will not capitalize on you playing Foundry on turn 1, even when you are going second. Even going 2-0 is not that problematic from start 1. When going first on your turn 2, you can choose to play Foundry with Armor or Rabbit, as you can at least win 1 expedition. After these 2 turns, it will be a lot harder to play Foundry. Not only do you lose value the later it's played, you can also cannot make up the lost expeditions that easy. So playing it after turn 4 I will not recommend. If you don't get Foundry, try to play on the curve with your 2 and 3 drops, or set up for a good Milk play. Speaking of Milk, setting up for your Buddha turns can be very important. With Milk, you can start the turn with a 4 stat companion. This is a very strong start of your turn, even if you don't. Milk is very good for your Armorer and Spy to be put in. If you play them from reserve, you get massive value for low cost. The stats Milk can reproduce are unreal and sometimes even feel unfair. With Foundry Trigger, you can even play them directly from hand into Milk. If your reserve is full or you need power, don't hesitate to play them from hand into Milk, as it's really high stats. In later turns, you can even play Milk from hand or reserve and directly with the cards that get them boosted. Foundry is an enabler and so is Milk. You don't draw Foundry? No problem, Milk got you covered. On turn 3 and 4, get the card advantage flow going. With cards like Bounce or Spy and Skadi, it's fairly easy to disrupt your opponent's game plan. If you got some uniques that also draw or disrupt, add them to the deck to grind down your opponent's resources and win by card advantage. You can use Intimidation and return your characters to hand to disrupt again in the next turn. Cards like Axiom Salvager, Floral Tent and Haven are giving you resupply and Syringa gives you draw. They will make sure you don't get out of resources soon. Getting help from Helping Hand to reuse your cards or using uniques that draw, resupply or remove fleeting will move you forward with a lot of good choices. Turn 5 or later. You have now enough mana to keep all your cards you draw. Focus on winning both lanes using Milk, getting advantage with your resupply cards to play them directly or sabotage key cards from your opponent. This deck is very good in the value game, so cumulative value from Foundry while destroying cards in reserve, fill back up your own and profit. This is deck overview, everything is 3 mana or less. So that was it for today. This deck is fun to play. Foundry Milk and the token generator cards are very synergistic. They are protected by Floral Tent and you get even more advantage by sabotaging and resupplying. Hopefully you try this deck out and will enjoy it as much as I do. As this is a Kojo list, there are more than one way to play this deck, so let me in the comments know what cards you would change. If you liked the video, let me know and subscribe for the next one. I'm the Bravos Hatter, and I hope to see you soon.